Welcome to The Rest is Giant Robots, a conversation through the careers of writer Simon Furman and artist Andrew Wildman. Recollections and revelations about the highs and the lows as creatives in comics, books, games, film and TV.
Well, hello. Welcome to episode 23 of The Rest is Giant Robots. I'm Simon Furman, writer of stuff.
I'm Andrew Wildman, and we weren't going to say any more what we do, were we?
No, no, I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, you can see how little rehearsed we are.
Yeah, good. What are we talking about today then, Simon? You're in charge.
We're gonna talk about Matt Hatter Chronicles, which we started to do so last. We'll get to that in a minute. There are a couple of things I wanted to talk about first. Just some news and stuff we can put in the links section.
Yeah, okay.
If you've been following me on social media or however, you will know that I have a new series coming out this month called Return to Skull Island, which is a continuation of the Netflix animated King Kong Monsterverse series. So that hits stores around June the 18th, I think it is. And then a few days later, on June 21st, I am doing a first issue release signing at Forbidden Planet in Bristol. So if you happen to be in the west of the country or southwest of the country, or anywhere you can get to Bristol, do come along. It's I think it's 1 o'clock, but it's up on the Forbidden Planet site, and we'll put the link in the blurb.
Nice one. Yeah,
So
good.
so that's been really fun to do. Nice change of pace, not a robot in sight. Even though I think there is a robot Godzilla somewhere in the sort of
Of course there
canon
is. Yeah.
of the Monsterverse, but no, this is fully hairy King Kong stuff. It's great. I've really enjoyed working on it. I mean, if you haven't seen the Netflix show, it's there, all 8 episodes, ready for binging on, and it's really good fun, very snappily written and just generally very, very enjoyable. And the characters are great. So it was a kind of nice one to be able to pick up on and try and make it as entry level as possible, but you are still taking characters who've had 8 TV episodes to develop and trying to introduce them. But
Yeah.
I think it kind of works, and the art is absolutely lovely. So yeah, that's that. The first issue hits, like I say, in 2 weeks or so's time.
Nice. And let's give the artist a shout out. I don't know who did it, but who's the artist on it?
Oh, now you've asked me. Oh
Oh
no!
dear.
Can we edit that bit out, please?
No.
It's Christopher, and I can't think of his last name. That's terrible.
Well, hello,
Um,
Christopher, if you're out there listening. Well done.
yes, yes, well done,
I feel your pain.
and I apologise wholeheartedly,
Yeah,
but
I'm sure.
that caught me completely unawares.
I'm
Anyway,
sorry.
yes,
Didn't mean
that
to
comes
catch you
out.
out.
One other little bit of news: I'm wearing, for the video viewers who can see this, my To the Death t-shirt. And that's the series I did with Jeff Senior, sort of 10-issue maxi series. And that is being re-released through what is formerly W.H. Smith's and soon to be whatever it is, T.J. Jones or T something Jones.
Oh
Anyway,
no.
W.H. Smith's stores, that's being re-released in some special collector's packs.
Wow.
4 issues in the first one, 3 in the next 2 to give you the whole 10-issue series. And that's me and Jeff Senior's it's our version, if you like, of Dragon's Claws. We couldn't do Dragon's Claws, that's Marvel. So we took that kind of vibe of sort of future war and lone warrior fighting the system
Yeah.
and turned it into To the Death. So
I
that
don't think I knew that. I don't think I knew that's what it was.
Oh, did you not?
I don't think
Oh,
so, no.
yes. Yeah, no, I mean, we'd always wanted to do, we'd love to do more Dragon's Claws, but that seems unlikely unless Marvel suddenly decide they want to do something with it. But
Hmm.
no, To the Death was, there's lots of very subtle nods and winks. The main character has a sort of Russian sounding name called Dryagin, but it
Right.
sounds a little bit like dragon. And, there are other little nods and winks and, hopefully, sort of legal action free, Easter eggs if you know where to look for them.
Yeah. Is Dryargin actually a Russian name?
It is, yeah, I looked it up. I found it.
Wow.
Yeah, I just thought, oh, perfect, sort
Yeah.
of.
Well, again, I'd never heard it pronounced. I thought, why is it called dry again?
Uh, no, you've got to say it in
Nice.
a sort of, I bet they can say it in Lithuania really
I bet
well.
they can. Yeah, this is the Russian episode,
Yeah.
not the Lithuanians in Russia anymore. So
No, no, no. Let's not get geopolitical here.
no,
Um,
lovely, lovely place, lovely people,
anyway, so yes,
amazing.
that is coming out again. Like I say, in these nice, sort of collector's packs with an art print. So if again, we will post some links so you can see when and where, and well, where is WH Smith slash whatever it is Jones.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's very funny that they went from Smiths to Jones, sort of,
Alas,
yes. Anyway, that's my little couple of bits of news. Anything you want to drop into the general news chat?
no, I'm doing a lot of storyboarding at the moment. Production is massively picked up, so obviously you'll be seeing. Well, you won't be seeing my work with storyboarding, but you'll be seeing the results of it. So I'm working on a show for Apple called Star City. Getting through GI Joe sketches for all my patrons who are supporting that project. I'm working on a horror film, low
Oh,
budget horror film, storyboarding that, which I'm finding hard to schedule in now.
yeah.
There's quite a lot going on. I mean, I had a very fallow period for quite a while, and now it's all happening. Um, I'm surprisingly getting quite close to the end of the adaptation of Horizon. Talking of our own projects,
Okay, good.
which is on Webtoons. Yeah, well, that's kind of fun, but again, it's something I need to fit in, and that comes out weekly. So it's
Oh,
just a matter of a couple of days before you think, oh no, I need to do another one.
yes.
I
Yeah, we
started
had
off by
enough.
doing a whole batch of them that were then timed to go out, but now, of course, I'd let that slip, so now I'm just having to play catch up all the time. But yeah, check out on Webtoons Horizon, A Long Way to Fall.
Oh, yes, indeed. Okay, so that's our sort of catch-up stuff. If you remember in last episode, we started talking about a TV animated show called The Matt Hatter Chronicles that we both
Mhm.
worked on. It was produced by Platinum Films, who were based at Pinewood Film Studios, and it screened on CITV from about 2011 maybe to 2014.
Yeah, yeah,
And I,
and
I noticed because I did some research, sorry to cut you off there. I did some
mm,
research this time so we wouldn't be caught flat-footed again.
jolly good.
And the first series, at least, is on Prime Video.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah,
good. I didn't know that.
quite unexpectedly. I thought I was just sort of surfing to see what was out there, and I thought, oh, series one, Prime. So it's there if anybody would like to watch the first season. I kind of hope the other seasons are up there,
Mm.
but yeah, it's there on Prime if you have a subscription. So yeah, definitely have a look at that. It's certainly worth. I mean, it was a really fun show, and it was only when I dipped into a few clips on the internet of it that I thought, God, it was a well put together show.
Yeah, very ambitious as well.
Mm.
Very ambitious. Yeah, big,
So
big concept. They'd thought about it a long time before they
they
started putting it
they
into
had, and
production, and I think it
you know,
shows.
and that's one of the things we can talk about because when I came on board, you know, the production itself had been running for quite a while,
Mm.
but you know, actually nothing had come out, and that almost led to a slight problem that we had to sort out. But I'll get to that in a minute, because just to recap, here's the little pitch on a napkin. Matt Hatter, young boy, lives in the Coronet Cinema in Notting Hill, an actual cinema that they used for the show. And he finds a hidden cinema screen, uh, manages to jump through a cinema screen that's a portal into another dimension, where he starts hoovering up movie monsters that have leaked into these other realms.
Mm.
And there are four realms, which we couldn't remember last time. So,
Oh, I wrote those down as well. I don't know if I got them
yes.
right, but here we go.
So, yes.
Tell
So,
me,
the
Simon.
one we did remember was Sea of Sands,
Yeah,
which was a sort of desert with ocean trappings to it.
yeah.
And the one, the sort of Greco-Roman one that I couldn't remember, was Region of Ruins.
Region of ruins. I knew it was ruins, like the region. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And do you remember the other two?
Well, one of them was Carnival City.
Yep, that came later, didn't it?
Yeah, and there was a forest as well, wasn't there?
That's right, Enchanted Forest.
Enchanted Forest. There we go. They were going to
Yeah.
do a snow one, but I don't think they ever got that far.
No, they didn't. That was talked about for a while. I think it maybe even conceptualized, but it never happened.
Hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so he ends up in these four parts of this multiverse, hopping around, fighting a bad guy called Tenorok,
Hmm.
and whose name is Coronet backwards. Oh, spoiler.
Way.
And yes, he hoovers up and captures the movie monsters that have leaked into these other dimensions.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Some
that's
great
the
monsters
general
as
thing.
well. Yeah, some great monsters as well.
Mm,
Not all movie reference particularly, but some of them very definitely. I thought they were really, because a lot of those kind of initial things had been designed before I got on the show. Um, but they needed a concept artist, so I came in and designed some characters.
mm,
And Sea of Sands was already largely um, designed. I kind of finessed it a bit and then worked on the detail of things. Um, because I was originally taken on as a concept artist, which was fine to just do some nice drawings of what these things would look like, but because it's a CG show rather than a 2D kind of animated show, obviously all the sets have to be built in the computer, CG versions of these actual sets. So concept artist is fine, but you need a production designer, or you need somebody who's a concept artist and like really dial it up and design all the finer details as well. So I did started doing all of that, which is why they then upgraded me to production designer. So then you have to reference so many different details of these environments, and especially with the Coronet Cinema, because they had concept art for the interiors of that already. Um, but the show, they went through some different houses who were actually going to, animation houses that were going to put this thing together. They spoke to a place in Canada and various places, and that would have been ideal to have a kind of an. I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but to have an English-speaking production house would have been
mm.
advantageous, because there are a lot of, especially with the Coronet, it's a classic bit of, I guess, Georgian architecture.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it was eventually built in China or India. It was outsourced for obvious
Yeah.
financial reasons, and they did an amazing job. But the amount of detail in terms of drawing and photo references that I had to give them about what the details of the Coronet Cinema looked like was because they just didn't understand it culturally at all. When you're talking about Georgian architecture or Victorian architecture, and even like the cornices in the rooms, they're egg and dark cornicing. Well, they don't know what that is, so I had to send
No.
loads and loads of reference pictures for all these things. Otherwise, it just wouldn't be convincing. They did an
No.
amazing job, but
They did, yeah. I mean, the Coronet was a great, and occasionally bits of episodes, played out in the coronet. It wasn't all in the multiverse.
Yeah, very
So they
much.
had to function really well. And, I mean, obviously, again, with a CG show with certain sets that are built, there's once you got to the Sea of Sands or whatever, there was a lot of kind of you have to reuse the same sets. You
Mm,
can't really, you can't go off piste, as it were.
no.
You have to use what's there. So it was finding new ways to use existing environments, which was sometimes tricky.
Yeah. I mean, when you came on board, I think then, although I'd been doing some of it anyway, but very definitely, I think when you came on board, we'd work on it together and map out the whole flow
Mm,
of the action. So it's
yeah.
have like planned drawings that I did of the environment, so we could say, all right, they go here, and then they go there, and then they go there.
Mm. If
Um,
they had to get to Al Habar, this place in the Sea of Sands,
yeah,
you had to go, well, okay, but they're here at the moment. So how do we transition across the environments to there? Yeah, it did take a lot of, sort of tracking, if you like, to make
yeah,
sure you couldn't then pick holes in it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, you cheat it a lot when you can do a cut and then you can jump from one location to another like you're doing live action, but you need to know where you're going. Can't
Yeah.
just make it up.
And just to recap again from last time, I came on board after the first, well, the script editor, David Friedman, who we've talked about before, he left the production team and they needed someone to come in and sort of wrangle the scripts they had. And that was
Mm,
when you put my name in the frame and Nigel Stone, who was the big boss there, sort of took me on a sort of part-time office basis
mm,
as, like I say, script supervisor, no longer editor. I think it was more to, for a start, there were a stack of scripts already. Most of season one was written by then, the episodes like Doc Fossil and, some of those other ones were all there in a pile, but there was no overall structure yet to the first series.
right.
And some scripts were there, but and this is what I meant earlier, some scripts were there and they no longer fitted because the show had evolved
All right.
since those had been written. Like I say, I think 8 or 9 of the scripts were there, and some had to be more or less pushed aside
Mm.
completely. Um, if there was no first episode, that was the
Oh, okay.
strange thing. The the Black Knight episode, what became the first episode, was written after this, after I joined the team. So
Mm,
there were a bunch of episodes, but there wasn't a focal first episode that introduced Matt to the multiverse and Roxy and Gomez and all the other characters.
mm. I mean, this is the kind of decision you have to make with a series, though. Um, is it going to have like a beginning, like a first episode? Because very often with that kind of stuff, well, certainly then, not so much now, I guess, but TV generally likes to have episodes to be able to be screened in any order.
Mm.
Um,
And it was a discussion, definitely, we had about it can't be too obviously the first episode.
yeah,
But there
yeah,
is a certain amount of stuff in that Black Knight episode where characters are meeting each other for the first time.
mm, yeah.
And it has the feeling of a kind of introductory thing to the whole show.
Yeah, I mean, would you say that season one has an overall story arc, or is it literally just the beginning, just the origin episode?
I think it's just the origin episode plus then you start to just go into, the environment or realm of the week, as it were, and
Yeah,
the story
yeah,
and the monster. As you were saying, the monsters weren't all just, oh, there's Dracula or there's Frankenstein's monster or there's the werewolf. They were always slightly skewed versions or just
Mm.
completely. I mean, there's one, Doc Fossil was just a sort of crazy guy who could reanimate dinosaurs.
Yeah. Which
So
also, it has kind of movie reference in a way, doesn't it?
hmm,
Because of
I
Jurassic
mean,
Park, I suppose. So they're always relevant.
they did, and there was always a monster element to them.
Mm.
There was a sort of guy in a scorpion suit, as I remember, and it,
Yeah.
it wasn't always just standard monsters, but you had to draw from somewhere. There's an inspiration, I think, behind all the characters from some bit of TV, film, or fiction.
Yeah, they definitely feel like even if they haven't existed in TV or film, they feel like they quite easily could have done.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I came on staff, and part of my first job was to go through the scripts and you know, given, like I say, because the show had evolved somewhat
Mm.
as it developed, some of the scripts worked and some of them didn't. And some of those scripts more or less had to get cut up and rejigged to
Mm.
fit the new format of the show or what it had become. And that was
Mm.
my first job. And that really meant sitting in Nigel's office
Mm.
and often reading these recuts of the scripts out loud to see whether
Right.
it was working, whether it was playing, and listening to his notes and feedback as
Mm.
we went through, and then doing a next draft and a next draft. So my
Mm.
first job wasn't really writing at all. It really was an editor's job.
Mm.
Some of the scripts were almost perfect as were, and others, like I say, just needed tweaking
Mm.
or rejigging. And then the Black Knight episode was the first show I wrote, you know, with Nigel, because it was very much, it needs to do this, this, and this as a first show.
Yeah.
Um, so I wrote that one while I was script editing or supervising the other shows for season one, which is why in season one, I think maybe there's only one or two that I have a credit for as
Mm.
writer, but I'm
Mm.
script supervisor on all of season one.
Yeah, I mean that's what for me, I can remember when, they had that problem, they needed some help with the script, made you perfect for the job, because not just because you're a writer and kind of fit the genre, but because of your experience as an editor. So it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it definitely was an editorial role originally, and it was funny being back in an office. As I think I mentioned last time, yeah, I'd been freelance by then, since I left Titan. So for a good decade of just working from home, and suddenly I was commuting from my current home in London into Pinewood
Mm.
2 days a week, I think. And
Mm.
that was interesting again, being back in an office. And
Yeah. Nigel didn't like people working remotely because, I mean, I could have worked remotely.
mm,
And on occasion I did, but he definitely liked people in there. He liked that whole kind of studio vibe where people were
mm,
in there and part of the conversation, and that, just on a whim you could just go up and chat to somebody about
yeah,
something. So it was good. I like that
mm,
studio environment. I was traveling in from Chipping Norton. I'd got my motorbike by that point, so I was
yeah,
biking in just to avoid all the traffic.
yes,
Uh,
yeah. It
yeah,
was. It wasn't a great journey in, as I remember it, because you had to sort of, take the A40 out of London, and that was inevitably choked. And anyway,
yeah.
it was fine, and I enjoyed doing it, but they were long days, as I remember.
Mm.
Often the script stuff got shunted to the end of the day. Nigel was busy doing whatever Nigel was doing in terms of deals and and the
Yeah.
larger scale production stuff. And so often the script sessions tended to be, just when you're thinking, oh, God, it's time to go home. Right, let's do the scripts now. And then you'd have 3 hours of going through scripts and making notes and tweaks and changes. So
Mm.
yeah, it was they were long days as I remember them, but
Yeah.
I enjoyed the process, and as I think I said to you last time, Pinewood was such a great place to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. Yeah, you just because of the history of cinema and in the UK. Fantastic. You could just feel it, It just there's a certain smell to Pinewood, especially in the old lodge, when you where the offices were above the restaurant, which they used the restaurant for the white as the Oval Office in the film Special Relationship,
Okay,
which
yeah, I
was
didn't know
about the
that.
relationship. Yeah, yeah. So it definitely had that feel. And like you said, the front of the lodge, not the entrance necessarily, but the front that kind of overlooked the garden, big white
Mm,
sort of Georgian building they used for Who Dares Wins, where they abseiled off the roof and all that kind of thing. It was just,
that's
just an
right.
amazing place. And then there were these kind of back corridors where you could go from where the Platinum Studios were through the gallery, which was this incredibly
Mm,
long room with paintings on the wall, and then through some side corridors to eventually get to where the kind of cafe was. Um, and that smell and the creaky floorboard, that kind of
mm,
dusty old smell, it just stays with me forever.
yeah.
The studio that I had in Chipping Norton, which I'm not in anymore, above the pub, right in the middle of the market square, that smelt like that, and it just took me straight back to Pinewood.
Mm,
Just
yeah.
it
I mean,
just smelt like old cinema.
I can picture the layout so clearly there. And, on nice days, you could go out where they had sort of outside tables set up outside
Yeah.
the restaurant and have your script meetings outside, which was absolutely lovely and chat. And yeah, it was a great process. I say the first stage was definitely more editorial, but as it went on, it kind of almost happened a bit like Transformers, where I was editorial and then the writing sort of took over, and it did on Matt
Mm,
Hatter, and suddenly it was just easier because I knew the show inside and out to write
mm,
episodes. I'd done the Black
mm.
Knight, and then suddenly you look at season two, and it's writer Simon Furman, writer Simon Furman, writer Simon Furman, and it's like, oh God, that doesn't look good, because I think also it's good to have a variety of writers on a show. And the first season, there's about 8 different writers, and then the
Mm,
second season, there's maybe 3 different writers.
mm,
And then later, a guy called Richard Dungworth came on board as one of the writers, and he and I then were sort of more or less, you know, the 2 writers on the show, and it made everything
right.
a lot better.
Yeah, yeah,
But it was a
yeah.
fun show. And did you sort of were you always on staff, or did you come and go? I can't remember.
I had two stints at Platinum. I think it was two. It might have been three. I think it was two. So when I first went in, concept artist, upgraded to production designer. So I was there for quite a while working on that, and I mean, I wasn't on staff as such. I was a contracted freelancer.
Mm,
Production works in strange ways. You have to invoice every week. And
yeah.
the one thing I would say about Platinum, I would say about Nigel, is that um, they were good. They were good payers in as much
Mm,
as they paid right on time. Right on time. Sometimes they would pay you before the end of the week. Where you
yeah.
hadn't even finished your week yet. You get your invoice in on a Wednesday, and they pay you. They're really good like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing you said about long days, they were long days. I can remember my first day there. I was used to production being like 10 till 5 or whatever. And they started, or 10 till 6 usually in production. But they started at 9 o'clock. You had to be there at nine
Mm.
o'clock. Um, and I remember it getting to 5 o'clock and sort of packing up to go. And I just like, where you going? That's well, that's it, isn't it? He said, oh no, we work till 6. He had boundless energy.
Oh,
So
yes.
like an end of the day kind of next thing to get onto where we'd be flagging. Everything was like the first thing in the day for him. It was like, right, do this now.
Mm.
Absolute boundless energy and boundless tenacity, which is why Matt Hatter, ever made it to screen, because
Yeah.
a lot of people wouldn't be able to pull that off. But he was so driven.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember having script meetings with Nigel where he's in a car being driven somewhere and he's speaking to
yeah,
me on the phone and we're doing script reading notes as he's traveling to his next destination. And it's like, wow, this is really difficult to do because suddenly, literally you he's out of signal or something, and you're having to wait for that to
yeah,
come back in. But yeah, yes, he had total energy and total absorption in Matt Hatter, which, yeah, as you say,
yeah,
I'm sure got it made and aired and everything else.
yeah. Toys, everything, the whole
Yeah,
9 yards.
toys.
He did it.
Yeah, I mean, and the only thing that didn't happen with Mad Hatter was a DVD release. It never got released
Yeah.
on DVD, which was really strange. You had a couple of novelizations, the
Mm,
toys, various bits of, like the Cell Blaster, Matt's weapon, if you like.
mm,
There
mm.
there was a toy of that. It was lots of things happen, but strangely, no DVDs because it would be nice to have the whole series on DVD. But I shall now at
Yeah,
least be able to look on Prime and
yeah.
watch the first season again.
You have to get in touch with them, get in touch with Becky and say, why did it never go on DVD? It's probably some
Yeah,
kind of territory thing or whatever.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good,
Um,
and I mean, it ran for 4 seasons, and
yeah.
a sort of movie length episode, Rise of Primal, which is the little thing behind me for video viewers. Um,
Uh,
and yeah, it was good. I mean, when I look back, it was such a volume of work in a relatively short time. I mean,
yeah.
my animation credits before were probably about 13 episodes or something across,
Mm,
Beast Wars and Dan Dare and X-Men Evolution and whatever else, maybe 13, 14 episodes. I must have written, I don't know, 20 plus episodes of Mad Hatter and
mm.
and
It's a
worked
good
on
chunk of work, isn't it?
and worked on all of them to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember long I was there for as production designer, and then I left. I don't know where I went or what I did, but I left. But then I came back as a storyboard artist, which I think. So one of the people that came to work as a, I don't know what he, I think he was like an art director or something, came to work on Matt Hatter towards the end of my stint. Was
Mm.
a guy called Andrea Tran,
Yeah.
Italian guy,
Mm.
um, and he was great. I don't think him and Nigel's visions necessarily kind of synced particularly well. So Andrea left in the end, but I got on really well with Andrea from a creative, artistic point of view. Um, and I think I moved away from Matt Hatter on when I left Matt Hatter. It was because I had a call from Andrea. I didn't leave because of that, but my time was kind of up on Matt Hatter. But then I had a call from Andrea because he'd gone to work for Collingwood and Co. Very well-known animation company, had done all sorts of things, multi BAFTA winning production studio. So I went to work with him on a show called Rough Rough Tweet and Dave,
Mhm.
which is a preschool show. So that was a nice foray into a new thing because I hadn't done preschool before. Um, but then I did go after I'd finished on that and worked on a couple of other things. I did go back to Platinum as a storyboard artist because they
Mm.
they needed one, which was great for me because I think that was my first kind of really chunky storyboarding role.
Yeah.
Um, so it was nice to get back into that, yeah, to do some storyboarding, which all adds to the CV, adds to your IMDb database credits and all
Mm.
that kind of thing. And then I did go back. No, I didn't go back. I did do a little bit of work on their young Bear Grylls project
Yes.
that they were
Yeah.
working on.
Yeah.
So we were in and out. So it was so again the way this industry works, the people you meet, I got into it because I'd previously worked with David Friedman, and then coming out of Platinum, I'd met Andrea Tranter, then I got on to Rough Tweet and Dave, which was great. The other memory, I don't know if you've got anything left to say about the production of Matt Hatter.
No, I mean, it was great, and it really, gave me a big body of work and experience on working on the inside of a TV animated show, which was kind of
Yeah.
invaluable because you start to understand a lot more about, and on a CG show, what you can and can't do.
Yes.
How you have to sculpt shows to fit the limitations, if you like. There's some great things about CG shows, but as you say, everything's got to be built, modeled. So there are certain limitations. So it was a great experience. It had its ups and downs and bumpy bits, as these things do, but
Mm.
yeah, you expect that. And yeah, I too went on to work on Bear Grylls' Young Adventurer, I think they called it eventually. I wrote one of these sort of feature-length episodes they were doing. Richard had done the first one,
Mm.
and it as far as I know, these things never happened. I think if you look on the Platinum site, it still advertises Bear Grylls' Young Adventurer, but I've not seen it actually out or a finished product anywhere.
Yeah, they called me in to do a little bit of design on that as well. The main character's costumes, I did some
Mhm.
redesign stuff on them for that. So yeah, I'm sure knowing Nigel, eventually this thing will
Yeah.
appear just when the time is right. I hope so because I know a lot of great people put some work into that. So it'd
Yeah,
be
yeah, it was
nice to
good.
see them.
I'd like to see it happen as well. I just wonder whether the Bear Grylls bubble is still what it was when they set out on that journey.
Yeah, although he has got a show on TV at the moment, hasn't
Yeah,
he?
and there's a theme park, isn't there, somewhere,
Oh
Birmingham
well,
or something. So, I guess yes, the 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 appetite's there, but yeah, they've just got to get them out.
yeah, I'm sure they will.
So,
Couple of other things kind of happened. I don't know exactly where it fits in, but certainly during that platinum time on Matt Hatter, um, for me that's when I ran about the time I did my first work on Doctor Who. I think it was um, when I left Platinum the first time, and I was probably at Collingwood's, ran
mm,
about the time when I got the call to work on Doctor Who. So that was an amazing new thing that was happening on our lives into the world of production as opposed to comics. So that was fantastic.
and
But
Was that the Matt Smith Doctor
yeah, Matt
era?
Smith's Doctor, yeah. So season 7, I think.
Hmm.
Um, his Matt Smith's final season, I got a call because Farron Blackburn, the director I've mentioned before, who I worked with on the Fades,
Mm,
um, he got in touch with me and said, "Do you want to work on Doctor Who?" Which obviously I did.
yeah.
So then I did quite a few episodes for him. While I was at Collingwood's, I did get a call from him while I was on holiday about working on an episode of Doctor Who that he was doing. But I was in the Forest of Dean somewhere where there was just absolutely no signal, and so I completely missed out on that. They had to get someone else.
It's a
Um,
shame.
yeah, but that was great. Um, I was also asked to I was also asked to do the Peter Capaldi stuff,
Mm.
but I was too busy on other things then, and so I handed it over to the great Mike Collins, who
Yeah,
we'll
so
talk about at some point.
who is still storyboarding for Doctor Who
Yeah,
currently?
Yeah. So I was happy to do that because Mike, yeah, it was perfect to do it.
Mm,
Um, but I guess the other thing that massive came up, which I think we've mentioned before, but during around about this time, which makes it really, really significant, is that um, well, I was asked by IDW to do some Transformers covers. They were like alternate covers for, was it season 2 of their Transformers book? And I did
mm,
6 variant covers. And what makes it really interesting in terms of Pinewood is that when they asked me to do them, they told me the characters I was going to do, and I was going to do one of Prime.
yeah.
And I can remember standing outside Pinewood Studios and looking at these huge, like whatever they were, 50-foot pine trees. And I thought, that's the place to stand Optimus Prime, that weight and history and, stature,
Yeah.
which is what you see. It was on comic number 6. Um, and then I know that round about that time they were talking to you, and then they got in touch with me after doing those covers about working on a project together,
Mm,
which eventually became Regeneration 1.
it did, yeah. And, we'll talk about that next time. But yes, that was another big chunk. Well, the the biggest chunk we'd worked on together in comics for quite a while. So
Yeah.
yeah, lots to chat about on that. And that's for next time, or
Yeah. That'll be a
maybe
good
next time.
episode. Start into that one. Yeah. If you've
Yes,
got any
yeah.
questions, get them in.
Yes. Yeah, do send us in questions. We'll probably do another Q&A one at some point soon.
Yeah, brilliant. All right then, Simon. Good
Great
chatting.
stuff. Well, thanks, Andrew, and thanks everyone for listening, watching, and we'll see you back here in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, excellent. All right, guys. Thanks. See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Rest is Giant Robots. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider subscribing for more and maybe share with like-minded friends. This has been a Wildfur production.